This bobbylee calls out Andrew Santino for trashing TigerBelly.
So bobbylee has been getting a little annoyed with Andrew Santino and a couple other comedians because they
the drama
keep
is
making
going
fun
on.
of TigerBelly and the fact that Bobby continues to do that podcast with his ex, Kalila. Like, if you remember around a month ago when Bobby showed up late
His ex, huh?
to the Bad Friends episode with David Spade, and Andrew was kind of frustrated with him, so he was roasting him throughout the podcast. But he also gave his honest opinion about Bobby continuing to do TigerBelly. And it sounds like he's brought this up behind the scenes a couple times, but I believe this is the first time he's publicly said that he's not a fan of it and he thinks Bobby's wasting his time, which isn't that surprising. You know, I figured that's probably what his opinion was, and I'm sure a lot of other comedians have the same opinion, which Bobby talked about recently.
Wasting his time? I'm so confused.
How he almost got in a fight with another comedian over it, which I'll get to here in a second. But first, I just wanted to play the clip of Andrew talking about Kalila and TigerBelly, just in case you haven't seen it. I played this in my previous video about bobbylee showing up late to the David Spade episode, which got me a strike, but then they reversed it, so hopefully it's all good now.
A strike? Jeez.
But we'll see what happens, I guess.
I'm actually scared.
This one and then the other unnamed podcast that we don't talk about here.
Mm-hmm.
Do you hate it, Andrew?
No. I think it's a total waste of his time, but I think it's fine that he does it.
Finally, a real answer. You were sort of married to
Kalila, yeah. I look at.
Finish it for me.
What does that mean? Sort of married?
Kalila, yeah. And then how long did that go?
10
Well,
years.
they're still doing the podcast together.
You love that, don't you?
It's an interesting move.
I don't know what the fuck you're doing. I have no idea what you're fucking doing, and I don't like it.
Parents fight.
I don't like what you're doing. I don't like it, and I don't. I think this thing what you're doing right now. I made a mistake.
And in my previous video where I talked about that, I mentioned how I figured other comedians were also probably making fun of Bobby for continuing to do that podcast. Because it's been around, I think, almost 2 years now since they've broken up, and somehow it's still going. You know, I think most people figured there's no way it could last much longer, but they're still going with it, and it doesn't sound
he's a business partner.
like they're stopping anytime soon. It sounds like Bobby still enjoys
Seems like a good move.
doing it, which, you know, if he enjoys it and he likes it and that's what he wants to do, you know, good for him, I guess. Even though it sounds like a lot of people agree with Andrew and they think it's a waste of time or it's just not worth it for him. But Bobby, he's sick of hearing it. You know, he's putting his foot down finally. And he said recently Harlan Williams and Fahim Anwar were giving him shit about it, like making jokes or telling him to ditch Kalila or whatever. And he got in an argument with them. He talked about it when he did Trash Tuesday a couple weeks ago. And Esther brought up how people always give him shit for continuing to do TigerBelly.
Kind of like giving you shit about doing a podcast with Kalila just because she's your ex. And I don't understand why people are obsessed with like thinking that that's
if they're happy,
something bad that you're doing.
He's a comment section after all.
Your opinion, it doesn't affect my decisions on anything. I
Yeah.
don't give a shit.
Okay.
I
What
can
a
say things
sad.
about them as well.
Yeah.
That but for me, it's like I do what I want to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
And it's a good podcast.
not
That's
just
the move.
that. She's my best friend in the whole world. I honestly, there's probably only like 2 or 3 people in the world that I trust, like with my life, and she's one of them. I trust her with every aspect of my life, and that's never gonna change. And I'm sorry. Like I know comics that are like, how can you even be friends with your ex? You know, I go, well, that's you.
Yeah.
I think there's a insecurity for them to see them like happy together.
Your relationship with whoever you viewed it only as a sexual relationship. I want to throw some names out. Fahim Anwar and Harlan Williams. I almost got in a fist fight with those guys at the Comedy Store because they were like going, how could you do a podcast with somebody that was your ex? And I go, you guys, dude, first of all, that's weird that once you break up with somebody, you never see them again. Then what was the
There's no forgiveness at all.
relationship about, son?
Yeah, so he must hear this a lot, and I think it's weird that he does a podcast with her, but, you know, he's a grown man, he can make his own decisions, and I'm sure he's heard this enough from people, but I will say, you know, I think the point they're trying to make is
It's weird, but not too weird.
not that Bobby should never talk to his exes again. I think the point they're trying to make is he shouldn't talk to Kalila again specifically. No, I'm kidding. maybe, they might have that opinion. But I think most people, they just think it's weird that he continues to do a podcast with her, because there's a difference between talking to your ex and being friendly with them and then having a business with them and continuing to work with them. And
Yeah, it's only business oriented. I
I
mean,
think the real test, if he talks about him and Kalila are still best friends and they always will be, the real test will be once the podcast is over. And I could be wrong, this is just my opinion, but I get the feeling that Bobby continues to do the podcast because he's kind of scared of what could happen once it's over. Because if they don't need to hang out with
what?
each other every week, I'm sure
What
they'd
is this dick?
still be friends, but they'd definitely drift apart somewhat. And Bobby, for some reason, he still really enjoys talking to Kalila and hanging out with her. So I'd imagine a big reason he keeps doing TigerBelly is because he's worried about what could happen with the relationship if it ended. But I don't know for sure. Let me know what you guys think. So also, like I said, on the most recent
Yeah,
episode,
what a better.
Bad Friends,
Jeez.
Bobby brought up how he's had to set some boundaries with people recently. And Andrew's like, oh, really? Who? Who's disrespected you? And Bobby sits there awkwardly for a couple seconds, and then he's just like, you have, you remember I had to tell you to stop making fun of TigerBelly. So this obviously happens quite a bit if Bobby had to put his foot down and tell him to stop. But it sounds like Andrew has trouble with it, and he just can't help himself.
I know, I've been setting boundaries.
Tell me a boundary you've made recently.
I just, when people used to kind of talk to me in a certain way,
People that we know, friends of ours?
Yeah, comics and stuff, you know what I mean? I go, hey, man, I don't like when people talk to me like that.
Like, who's disrespected you recently?
You.
You.
Here we go.
First of all, I'm your best friend.
I know, but I did.
It's
I
different.
really predicted that.
Try to set a boundary with you.
We have boundaries. We have very
I try to
obvious
set a boundary with you. I don't want to bring up anything, but I'm just saying that I said something and I remember saying it, going, oh, I'm glad I said it.
What did you say?
No, I don't want to get into it.
What did you say?
Sometimes
Or my medical pipe.
when you make fun of TigerBelly,
Mm-hmm.
it makes me mad a little bit.
Okay.
So I go, hey, come on, man. Don't talk about that like that.
Okay.
And then you kind of went, okay.
And I respect that.
Yeah.
And I don't. And
But then you did it like 2 times after that. But and I'll never do it again. But my point is
but
that
that's comedian
Yeah.
instinct.
the instinct, right.
Because
But,
you know how my heart, where
You just said so, bro.
my heart lies.
yeah, I know. I go, I shouldn't say that because I don't want to get in a fight or this and that. So I absorb it because I don't want to ruffle any feathers. I get a little bit more scared when it comes to any kind of confrontation with you. I said it.
Yeah, but
Huh?
you can tell me anything.
I know.
And I've never not been supportive of you. In our whole friendship.
Is he trying to deport him?
Ditto.
But so I'm saying.
That's not what I'm saying.
So what is it that you can.
What I'm ditto. That's not what
the
I'm.
TigerBelly stuff is a crux of it. Big time.
It's not even that. You do it as a joke, but it's like sometimes I just feel like that's fine. I don't want to. And you haven't done it since then, and that's fine.
And you know how much I love Kalila.
I understand that.
I just don't like
you said
Gilbert.
you asked
Why
me.
is he bringing up
I just
what?
hate Gilbert.
Yeah, and like Bobby said, he hates confrontation. So for him to tell people to stop talking about it and him getting in arguments about it and stuff, he must be hearing it a lot. And, Andrew kind of acts like he just makes jokes about it, which I'm sure he is making jokes. But at the same time, he probably actually does believe that Bobby, it's not really worth him doing TigerBelly. But at this point, it's pretty clear he's not going to listen to what any
Who the hell cares
has
about this guy, bro?
to say about it. He's never going to change his opinion. So hopefully he could just ignore this video. He says he doesn't listen to what people have to say. He doesn't care. So he should be fine with this. Like I said, my last one got a strike, but they reversed it. So I think it's all good. And I've made quite a few other videos about Bobby and Kalila's relationship and never had any trouble with it.
Right.
So I didn't think that was the problem.
guess I would
But
link
I
that
guess
then.
we'll see. But that's about it here.
Right,
If-
cool.